Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing the Grand Seiko Spring Drive Automatic SBGA299, a post-2017 Grand Seiko with, appropriately enough, the Grand Seiko marquee at 12 o'clock. This is a larger watch by Spring Drive standards. For a time and power reserve with the date, 40.5 millimeters in stainless steel gives this watch an impressive wrist stance. Now 13.2 millimeters thick means it's not particularly girthy. It will slide underneath the dress cuff, and that in large part due to the sloped conical bezel profile. Lug to lug, the watch is reasonably sized at 48.6, and even with the solid end links of the bracelet on each side, the watch only spans a manageable 50.8 millimeters across the wrist. I would recommend this watch for wrists as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. If you wish to accessorize, there is a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs, and the timepiece does sit comfortably because, and this is just as important as lug-to-lug measurements, the case has an effective camber. It sort of wraps around the wrist. You can see this case has a little bit of arc down and around the edge of the wrist while retaining some of the sharp faceting and that gorgeous optically smooth Zaratsu tin plate polishing for which Grand Seiko is known. Now we're going to get a little bit closer here and jump to the bracelet before we jump back to the case. The bracelet is nicely made. You can see not only are the links staggered in their alignment and differential in size, but there's also a contrasting finish, polish on the flanks with a nice rounded polished bevel that aligns perfectly from link to link. On the underside you can see big gaps to vent the wrist. That's also there to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. Grand Seiko showing a deft touch for ergonomics, and all of the removable links are fixed by screws. This is a steel Grand Seiko bracelet. There's a half link on each side of the clasp so you can size precisely, and the clasp itself is a trigger actuated affair, relatively flat in profile because it's not a diving clasp. I appreciate the satin finished center and relieved polished Grand Seiko logo and border. Attention to detail once again. Jump to the case and you can see why I'm so enamored of the faceting and polishing of Grand Seiko. You generally don't get a hand-finished Swiss movement in this price range, but that's exactly what Grand Seiko has given you on the case. Not just a watch built by a watchmaker internally, but actually finished by hand externally. If you want hand finishing like this on a Swiss watch, oftentimes you're going to have to go for something like an Audemars Piguet, a Vacheron Constantin, or a Patek Philippe. Here you get that Zaratsu tin plate polish, which creates a largely flawless black type of polish. That is to say, at some angles it appears black because it is so optically smooth. That's a high standard of finish, but it's reasonably articulated as well because you can see just how many facets and breaks of the character line there are, especially around the end of the lugs. Now jumping into the dial, it's a little bit difficult to characterize because you can see it's sort of a silver satin, and I would describe it as a sort of muted sunburst. Definitely has a directional grain radiating out from the center, so it does have a little bit of that dynamic chimera or chameleon-like effect where it will change minute to minute, angle to angle in the sun, but it's a little bit softer. I would say this one glows rather than explodes. You can see the furniture on Grand Seiko dials first class, all diamond polished and faceted indices, particularly stylized at 12 and 6. Stylized hands black polished at center with a lancet counterweighted second and a nicely faceted aperture for the date window. Lume outboard of each index, and you will note that the hands at center likewise loomed. There will be a lume shot, screw down crown, 100 meter water resistance, caliber 9R65 inside, 30 joules, watchmaker made, as I alluded earlier, and watchmaker regulated. And when the time comes, watchmaker serviced. Spring Drive is a lifetime movement for a lifetime watch. It also gives you a hybrid of quartz precision, plus or minus 15 seconds per month. Remember, a COSC Swiss mechanical chronometer is plus 6, minus 4 seconds per 24 hours. This is plus or minus 15 per month. The completely smooth sweep of the hand is characteristic of Spring Drive. The spring drives the hand directly. There are no motors, there's no capacitor, there are no batteries, but there's no step or halting advance as there is with the Swiss lever. This is a unidirectional governing wheel that creates an induced electrical current. It's automatic winding with a 3-day power reserve, and the governing wheel creates a back EMF which, in conjunction with the quartz regulator that it wakes up, will slow or speed up the governing wheel to keep time. The timepiece is an absolutely masterful fusion of electronics and mechanical soul, and in case you're wondering how long it took from first conception to automatic consumer-grade spring drive movement, try 1977 to 2005. Power reserve for the 3-day power reserve for 72 hours. You have a hacking seconds. You can stop the governing wheel and halt the seconds synchronized to our reference time, as well as a quick set date. And again, 100 meters with a screw down crown and the Grand Seiko Lion on a rusticated plastic base. Attention to detail, front and back. This is a larger and more boisterous case size from Grand Seiko, but discreet, measured, and circumspect about its specific styling choices. Everything about this watch is subtle. It just has a fuller wrist presence. You can see this quintessential Grand Seiko automatic and make it yours on the watch box. Grand Seiko SBGA299 by Night.